Brian, you smell so good.
I think that's Axe body spray.
Axe body spray and like 3 or 4 hours of setup.
3 or 4 hours of setup. How about like 48 hours of setup? Awesome. Well, hey, we're at Aquashella.
Yes.
With the man, the myth, the legend, Bahama Llama.
And Brian Levinson from Tank It Easy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm interviewing a couple saltwater people. There's a lot of freshwater people here as well, but I just want to say thank you for coming out. The booth looks awesome. I've already donated some money to the Tank It Easy Fund through
Tell
Coral.
your wife that was a donation. Absolutely. She's going to see
watching
the bags.
now. So
hey.
it was just, it was $25, right? With the
best $25
discount?
you've ever spent at Aquashella. I
So,
can guarantee it.
This is the third Aquashella in Chicago. The OG Aquashella happened in Chicago.
You did,
right?
absolutely.
And so I've been to all three now. It's obviously leveled up. We're out of the maze of whatever it was before and into like a proper convention center now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think this space is used for a lot of things. It's amazing to see how coherent designs and bombshell creations and all different art creators, whether it's through lasers or through artwork, really come together, and they all have one thing in common: is everyone is just fanatical about their fish tanks. Everybody I talk to has a fish tank at home, but they look forward to this. I know last year was kind of a tough pause, really, for this. So everyone has just kind of been reinvigorated, I think, to just give it all they got. And I think I really thank Sean and George for putting on another great show.
Yeah.
But man, the artwork that people are putting together and the detail of corals, and also acknowledging freshwater and kind of taking you through a nice little tour. They really keep stepping their game up every single time.
Yeah, the Aqua Crib this time is insane. So if you've never been to an Aquashella before, there is, like, right when you enter, you go through this like fantasy world of like black lit, kind of really cool artwork, and it's just an interesting. Nobody else is doing this, but this year they've stepped it up so much. There's bubbles filled with smoke.
Absolutely, yeah. There's bubbles filled with smoke.
There's snow,
which we don't normally ask for in Chicago at all.
No. But
in August, it's great.
It reminds me of Avatar.
Oh, for sure.
The movie. It's like walking through Pandora.
Avatar, yeah. Pandora meets Wally Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Alice in Wonderland, because everything is supersized. There's zoanthids that are like car tires. There's jellyfish. There's all these different art renditions that are glowing. And I think it does pull a lot from the saltwater hobby, because blue UV light has been introduced, and the corals react in such a way that it looks very similar. I think black light really doesn't do it justice. I think
that's true. Yeah,
black light will almost like make you think of like college days or maybe high school days, depending where where
the only shrooms here are coral
mushrooms. Yes, the only ones that are there. It was a family show.
Yes,
Mama.
It is a family show. If you have any questions, you can always, I've got my phone pulled up here, and we can take any questions you have. But I wanted to talk to you, Brian, because you guys you're heavy into service. You've got a store here, which we got a chance to see last night. It has expanded well beyond expectation. I mean, you guys have a farm now. It's pretty legit. But going back to 2020, and I know we don't really want to do that necessarily, but
sure.
How did that affect you guys? I mean, I know in St. Louis we had a lot of local fish stores that thrived, that a lot of people were home, they're buying new tanks, they're doing all that stuff. But from your perspective, Chicago's different than St. Louis in a lot of ways. So what was it like for you guys?
Well, I think we all were affected differently throughout the country. But I know, just to touch base, to give a point of reference to time frame, New York was just having a terrible time, and Chicago was paying very close attention to that. So between the Mayor Lightfoot and different restrictions, the CDC, all those different types of things, we were like, okay, let's roll with the punches. And every day was a little different. So we went out and we serviced all of our tanks as fast as we could, because we knew there was going to be potentially a couple. First they're telling you it's going to be a couple weeks of no moving around, and then it just kept moving on further and further. So we took the approach of let's all separate. We gave everybody little kits. We separated our vehicles, masked up, and we were trying to go through masks. And originally they wanted all N95s, so we got to get those. Okay, cool. Now you can only use those for so long. When it came down, fast forward a little bit to when the cloth mask was acceptable, which I brought you some actually.
Oh, thank you.
Our team came across and made these. Actually, I know you've seen this. I sent you one.
I have one, yeah.
Yeah, these glow-in-the-dark bandanas
That's
that
awesome.
end COVID, all that kind of stuff. And we sent them out, wore them, used it as like an opportunity just to kind of do something fun while everyone was freaking out.
Yeah.
But no, we really did our best to keep all the systems going. I figured, a fish tank really isn't a necessity. I mean, I might like it a lot and want it a lot, but let's be practical. If in the pandemic, you're gonna grab, women and children first.
Yeah.
They don't mention the fish tank, right?
No, not at all.
No. So I was a little concerned, but we were just gonna roll with it. What we found was people were spending so much time at home, and they were doing home remodeling projects. They want to spruce up the tank. They want more fun creatures to have in their tanks. So we started making private appointments, curbside. People needed all their frozen food that their fish were accustomed to.
Yeah.
So we're doing drop-offs, just doing everything possible, sand cars, doorknobs, everything else after all the fish tank stuff was also done. So we've got like 6 trucks on the road, 6 different teams going out 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, cleaning fish tanks. So it's a little difficult, you find to wear latex gloves and then put them into a fish tank. And when you pull your hand out, guess what? Now you have a water balloon on the end of your hand.
A not fun one, yeah.
Yeah, so that's not good. It kind of defeats the purpose if you're, dumping water out from the glove. So you start doing like the Michael Jackson. You got one hand for, holding the ladder, and the other hand, for those of you who don't know, Michael Jackson used to wear a glove on one hand.
Sequiny.
It was sequiny?
Sequiny, yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
A lot of sequins. It was flashy. It was like the original before
the whip and the nay-nay?
Not the whip, the nay-nay, before Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce.
Before Beyonce.
All the single ladies.
Yeah, all the single ladies.
Yeah.
The one hand out. Michael Jackson did a version of that.
So as far as like from a sales perspective, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are, obviously you just took us through how you made it work. And I think that if anything, the pandemic kind of exposed all the weaknesses that every business had.
Oh, sure.
And kind of how to adapt and grow. So as far as like sales go, how did that all, like, are you all of a sudden getting an influx of people that are getting into saltwater tanks for the first time?
You got a lot of that. A lot of people getting into the hobby. A lot of people actually not going on vacation, not doing a lot of things where they would normally spend money. And so I think they were really being curious how they can bring a piece of what they would go see on vacation when they went diving.
Yeah.
Or go see on vacation when they went snorkeling. Let's face it, in the Midwest, we all like to go to warm destinations and make the most of it, right? So all those saltwater destinations are pretty far from Illinois. So they brought a piece of that. A lot of scuba divers, a lot of people that are like avid travelers were they want to go places, couldn't. We started designing stuff. Waterbox was huge. Being able to have that as an option, because we do a lot of custom tanks.
Yeah.
Our showroom, which we actually got the building December 2019.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing, right before the pandemic. But you know what? You just got to do the best with what you got. And it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because we had extra time. We had to close part of the store to like very minimal hours at the old location, really just pulling up and you can have frozen food or water or whatever the case may be. But it gave us a lot more time for construction.
Sure.
When you got nothing to do, it was nice to be able to drive over to the store and just keep working, keep doing construction, keep painting, keep building, and just do one system at a time. That was fantastic. Now, installing water boxes was kind of not new. We always do that, but a lot of times we're doing custom cabinetry where that's the focus.
Yeah.
But when people have no patience, which happens, when there's no patience and you want that instant gratification, water box was a great option.
Everything you need is right there.
Yeah, I mean, to get you started, you got to pick out your lights and your returns, but then you can really decide. They're kind of designed to go both ways, fresh or salt.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of people, but I would say pulling the trigger on tanks, it's a madhouse. Even now, we have trouble keeping water boxes in stock.
Yeah.
So, but anything that we're an authorized dealer. So if you are interested in water box, check out at their website, waterboxaquariums.com. And you can find whatever you want. But if you're in Chicago or nearby, you need someone to receive that tank, make sure it's all good to go, and then install it, deliver it for you. We partner with them all the time in the Chicagoland area just for that. So bringing a 6-foot, 400 gallon tank upstairs, flights of stairs in Chicago, as you know, can be kind of tight.
Yeah.
So it's a passion. So the lifting in the summer is a little different. It's hot,
Yeah.
but it's worth it because the smiles on people's faces when they get the aquarium there, and they saw it in the showroom, like, hey, I want it. Boom, we wrap it up, get it into a truck, get it there. Usually within a week or two, if we have it in stock, we get it scheduled and put in there. And I mean, it's a privilege. It's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. So as far as Tank It Easy goes, your company, what is your role in that, and what are the main roles that you have delegated out? Like, because now you have a farm, so that's a whole new thing. So
Right.
what is your role, and then what are the roles that you have for other people?
So we pride ourselves at Tank It Easy as being a group that can wear a lot of different hats. One day we're doing sales, the next day, well, in my roles, doing carpentry. We're assembling tanks, transporting stands and canopies to different finishers, painters, getting materials, coordinating with one of my master builders, Tyler, who is just incredible.
I think he built my tank, no?
He did build your tank.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, I assisted. But
I
no,
chopped some wood.
Yeah, no, chopping wood, sanding, mitering, we do it all, and making sure that, especially with your tank, that was a really neat one. We didn't have a center brace, so it had to be really solid. So we did that with full sheets of plywood, multiple layers, and make sure it's supported in beautiful ways so you don't get bowing later.
Yeah. And then as far as like the farm goes,
So back to roles.
Like you're in sales. No, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're visiting people at their home and saying, a tank would look good here. I remember the first time you came over to the house, and I was like, we have this like shelf that's kind of a built-in shelf, and I was like, we could do like an angular tank right here, and you're very nice, and I know better now how much of a nightmare that would have been to clean, but it's funny now that but you actually gave some really good advice in that you put a tank in a room that you're not normally in to draw people into the room.
Right.
And that's exactly what we did.
For sure. Well, I mean, I think especially your home, which was beautiful, by the way, what we like to do is if given the opportunity, if someone is looking for feedback or direction, one thing is we look at the home and we like to give people all of the options that we think would be out of direct sunlight. Would also be, I think they're great in rooms where there's a TV.
Yeah.
But they're also great in rooms like sitting areas or living rooms or room dividers. And I'll tell you why. When you're watching TV, the last thing you need is two TVs on. That would be very chaotic. But what's nice about an aquarium is there's no audio distraction, unlike what we have here.
Yeah, right? I don't know how much of that is coming through, but there's a rave happening next to us.
There is. I hope not. So going to a room that doesn't have, you don't normally use, sometimes a sitting room, it draws people in and it's a great place for conversation. Now, as far as having a fish tank in the same room as the TV, what's nice is it doesn't compete. I don't care what show you're watching, when it goes to a commercial, you don't have to watch the commercial. Or maybe in your case, maybe you're forced to watch like the Kardashians or something. And maybe you're not, or maybe you are. But what's nice is you have options. You can drift off and take a look at your tank and really just enjoy it while maybe something is boring, right? Or leave the TV off. I find my home, because I have a 350 that divides my kitchen, living room. It's kind of open floor plan.
It's pretty awesome.
It's built in, yeah. So that is fun to not always have this desire to turn the TV on. And so if you're into that, I think it's awesome. That's why it's been really popular in doctor's offices historically, dentist office if you're a Finding Nemo fan.
Yeah.
But that's really good. It helps lower blood pressure. There's a lot of good advantages to it. But I feel like people really liked fish tanks before the pandemic. But then after the pandemic, or during the pandemic, I guess, people love their fish tanks.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck inside and you get a taste of nature. It really becomes a window. So in the home, or an office, look for a dark spot. If you're torn between this room or that room, what room isn't being utilized? Because I guarantee you, when you put the fish tank in there, that room is literally, I don't mean this as a joke, it's going to come alive.
Yeah.
Literally, you're going to want to be there, you're going to be gravitated towards it, and then it makes sense. Because you can move a fish tank when it's an independent system, but in the case where you want to build it into a wall or do pre-construction work, it's kind of a commitment because it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Which is great, but then that's where we come in, where to have this tough love conversation with people, because no one's going to remember that you told them gently about this being a bad idea.
Yeah.
Told them gently that this isn't going to work well, or it's going to mess up the flow of a room. If you don't say it loud and proud in the beginning, your relationship is kind of skewed from the beginning. So like it's similar to like a car dealership. If he didn't tell you about the maintenance, didn't tell you about the different aspects of this car, is really great in this region. I'm trying to think of what it would be, but like you wouldn't recommend a convertible necessarily, in Alaska.
Yeah.
That'd be unfortunate. That maybe is extreme, but literally there's unforeseen issues. Like in a high rise, if you want to have a 300-gallon reef tank where you have a studio condominium, you have to explain to them, well, you need to have water on site.
Yeah.
We have to make that water. Where is that going to go? So being very focused on not just the sale of the tank, but we're more engineered and geared towards service. So our relationship begins with the fish tank, but we've had customers for over 15 years that have stayed with us because we established a good rapport, obviously, in the beginning, but set them straight from the beginning. This is what you're going to need for this. See what their budget is, or see if it lands in their budget. But your budget is your budget. I don't think I need to fit into someone's budget. However, if they get a quote of their dream tank, what I often end up doing is telling people to kind of, maybe if you scale it down, if it's really expensive, to realize it doesn't have to be a big tank to be an awesome tank.
Yeah. That's very true.
Right?
I mean, one of my most favorite tanks is 2.5 gallons.
Right?
It's a macro display, just a really cool, got some cool inverts in it, a pom-pom crab, peppermint shrimp, it's just...
And you can see those specimens up close, and if you're really into those reef fish and some of the smaller corals, what's nice is you can start with something like that. However, I must say to everyone listening that a smaller tank, you need to think of it like, did you ever do models when you were a kid? Like where you glue them?
Right? Like planes and cars and stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember there was like two different types. There's the one that is, you got the stickers or it snaps together, you don't need any glue, and it's just kind of more for like younger kids, right?
Yep.
And then as you get into the more advanced stuff, there's like special paint brushes and paints and different types of glue, and you can like scuff up things. There's all these different techniques. It's very time consuming, and a lot of trips to the hobby store, a lot of different things. So what I'm trying to explain to everybody real quick is, it's the reverse for fish tanks. It's like the most difficult or expert level model that you can think of.
Yeah.
And the larger tank that you go with is actually more stable, and your coral, if it's saltwater or freshwater, when you're picking out fish, some of the fun things to do is to go to your local fish store. Well, if you get a little tank, you're just going to need another tank.
You have a little selection.
Yeah, and then you're maxed out. So it's really hard to tell people no, but unfortunately, I have to say, I'm not sure you want to go this route, or gently encourage them once they have the small tank not to overstock it.
Yeah.
Because to quote my business partner Tom, he would say nothing good in an aquarium happens fast.
That's very true.
Nothing.
That's very true. So going back to like the service, the installs, all that kind of stuff, do you guys have a tank that you've like installed or custom built a stand for, like the biggest tank or the most expensive tank?
Well,
what does that look like in your realm?
See, it's interesting because like I know on the TV show Tanked,
one of them is here.
I think it was
Brett Raymer is like
Brett
here.
Raymer is here, and I had to shake his hand and say thank you for giving so much exposure to the industry. Now everyone can talk about the methods and whatnot. We know Hollywood changes things a little bit, but at the grand scheme of things, a lot of people have been daydreaming about tanks. They've seen their giant tanks that they build for celebrities.
Yes.
Which I want to say thank you for being one of my celebrities. Fish builds.
We go so far back.
We do. But when you're building these tanks, it is important to be mindful of all that goes into it, right? But not everybody is ready for that big tank. But the biggest ones that we have, some that I could mention, we just put in a 750-gallon cylinder in Elgin. I can't really go over the price, but it was we did integration with Titan Aquatics to make this bad boy. It is massive.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Is this in a public or is this in a home?
This is in a business.
Okay.
It's a business out in Elgin. There will be a video of the build with Tyler and I, the installation, the flatbed that was necessary, the special pallets to deliver it, And then we're actually collaborating with a really cool artist. Well, he does texture.
Okay.
So on the outside of the cylinder stand and like the cap that goes on top, he's coming in place to do custom like texture artwork. So we're doing a time-lapse video of that. And then it's already up and running, so it's going to be, I'd say probably in a couple weeks we'll have a nice updated shot. It's a fish only. It's got real reef rock throughout it.
That's
so
cool.
It's kind of like a Fowler tank.
Yeah.
So that one's really cool. We did one for a company called Elysium in River North. And that is a 13-foot, I believe it is almost 1,000-gallon system. And what it is, it's a reef tank that has procedure rooms. They do plastic surgery and, fills and things like that. They have like a menu of options.
Botox?
I think that's right. Botox is one of them. And so it's kind of like a menu. They can pick out what they want, and they have, they can see this giant fish tank as they're leaning back and getting work done. They can enjoy.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they can enjoy this 13-foot reef tank. And so the way it is it's 13 feet wide, 13 feet long, and it's almost 4 feet deep.
Wow.
Yeah. So we play a lot with angles, and it's neat. When you use it as a room divider, you can kind of get that mirrored effect where when you're looking up, you see shimmer, and then on the other side, it's like a 5-foot stand that it's on, almost like a tri-level house.
Yeah.
Where then there's like an office behind, so kind of like nip tuck or like a it's like a real power move, real power move. So it looks incredible. That was a really fun one. We put that one in a number of years ago. But yeah, we've got really big tanks. We have if you look on Tank It Easy TV, our YouTube channel, there's a bridge tank that I videoed with George a couple years ago.
The one with the pool?
Yeah, the pool house.
Yeah,
bridge
that's
tank.
awesome.
Yeah. We got ones we've craned into penthouses. We're not as, flashy. Well, we are flashy in some respects, but a lot of it is just the cumbersome acts of getting it into the home, which isn't very attractive necessarily.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So we're doing a lot of time lapses of how we move these big tanks around. A lot of it is just like anything else. You have to have the right tool for the job. The right dollies, sometimes you have to cantilever things, and wrapping things up with an immense amount of saran wrap after moving blankets, and having, it's like the army ant mentality of having just a lot of extra bodies. And I recommend this for everyone at home. If you got your buddies coming over and you're moving a fish tank, you need to have one extra extra buddy or two to make it safe. And let me tell you why. If you're lifting and doing a team lift, I don't care how great a shape you're in, maybe you didn't have enough to eat that day, who knows? You can pull something, you can all of a sudden get overheated, and someone may not be available to lift anymore. And that's a terrible time to have to phone a friend to come help you while you're all holding a tank mid-lift. So I always suggest the buddy system, consider it like almost like having a spotter, have multiple bodies in other places to help lift, and also, almost like a talking stick, you gotta put someone in charge. Someone should be only in charge of talking, and everyone else should try to take the instruction.
Yeah.
Without that, it's chaos, and having good safety, or safety first, is no accident.
I think another good thing to do is mock up the size of the tank with like PVC or wood beforehand, especially if you're getting a big tank, because you don't want to be finding out that thing doesn't fit in your basement the day of, right?
Oh, big time. So that's a good point. We've done that multiple times. Back in the, maybe a year or two ago, I'd recommend getting 1 inch by 1 inch, wood. Like you normally call it a 2x4, but it's a 1x1.
Yeah.
And you can screw those together and make your box. So when you have to actually, because the littlest thing can actually really affect, our team calls it when you get gooned.
Oh yeah.
If you all of a sudden had something, you had all your ducks in a row and ready to go, and something you didn't anticipate happens, and then you're getting gooned. So when we get gooned, it's when we haven't prepped. So you can do the measure and get a good idea, but you're absolutely right. To build a model of some kind is sometimes necessary when it's tight.
Yeah. Because I think the one thing that you don't factor in is depth, or the width of the tank. Sorry, the depth of the tank. So you've got that. You know how long it is, right?
Sure.
That's usually, and you know how high it is, but the depth plays a whole new role in that situation, especially when you've got like a basement pivot or something like that. You gotta stand it up.
So this is just a square, right? But this may be 5 inches, right? But when you turn it and make a diamond, now you're at like 7.5 inches.
Yeah.
It gets longer. So that's the important thing. Now we make it a cube or a rectangle, and it goes on an edge. It gets longer. So just doing that, like, oh, it's 34 inches. Got to make sure that the door it'll fit through the door. Oh, we're good. It's 32. It'll fit. Hold on. You got to actually measure the tank, angle to angle. Tyler, my carpenter, and I, we call it dangle the angle. You got to know your angles. If you don't, you're going to have a real problem.
Yeah.
And you're going to need even more buddies and probably a drywall repair guy.
If you've got any questions, I've got my phone pulled up here. I know that we've got some people in, a lot of freshwater people it looks like we have in. But if you are saltwater or if you have any questions for us, please let us know. I think we've got a couple more minutes here, but I'm so distracted by all of these like celebrity influencers that are out here
It's
on the
wild.
floor today.
Absolutely. I mean, like, there's everywhere you look in this place. I mean, obviously you're going to see photos and videos posted throughout the day, and a lot of people do really awesome videos of what all transpired. But one of the things that we have to put together is earlier this week I brought Sean, and I brought Tanner Serpa over to a place called APET.
Oh, okay.
And that was like, it's basically like a Costco for fish.
Yeah.
And so he got to pick out some freshwater goodies, and the Fritz team was there, and they're bagging up fish. And for the show, we brought there's a couple zigzag tanks in the Aqua Crib this year that we built for Aquashella 2.0, or the second Aquashella Chicago, which is great. And I actually, Tyler and I built those for this purpose, but they're like just really giant stands.
Yeah.
But for those of you listening, or you'll see some of the photos, it goes 48 inches and then takes a left turn, 48, and then 48 up. So it's like this weird zigzag.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of them, and they're all matching. And we moved those over last night, and it was like a race to get that all done after.
Yeah,
the
I
party
walked
last
in.
night.
I walked in the throes of labor last night when you guys are like, be just sweat. Here's the thing, like whenever I'm installing a tank, which doesn't happen ever, or tearing down a tank, you really don't realize how long it takes. If you're gonna move somewhere, it's an all-day event. I don't care how big your tank is, it is an all-day event, because you not only have to get everything out, but you have to make sure that it's good in the interim, and then and then you got to manufacture it again in the new place. So it's like there's so many things you don't think about. So I always say, like, make a checklist of all of the things beforehand, because you are going to forget something.
But also keep in mind, when you're choosing and planning to do it, is a really big thing. Getting extra containers to hold your stuff, but there needs to be a priority list in expediting what's going on.
Yeah.
Meaning, when you start to drain a tank and you turn off the heater, there's a clock running.
Yep.
Right? So one of the simple ways that you can use your 5-gallon buckets to your advantage is have some towels, maybe even sacrifice a couple towels. You can cut these guys in half, make them into squares, or a little bit, so it's not this giant towel. Towel to bucket ratio isn't out of hand, right? So you can cut those apart in an old towel and put it over the 5-gallon bucket so that fish aren't jumping out. It also contains some of their temperature and their heat. If you're doing the winter, we use a lot of moving blankets where you put one down in a vehicle, start your vehicle before you do it.
Yeah.
That's a really big tip. But also, if you ever thought about upgrading your fish tank, during a move is a great time to do so. It really is. And the other thing I'd really like to point out with, we use a lot of Carib Sea aragonite, but when we're doing a fish tank move, and there's some people do flat bottoms, that's what I'm trying to say, is that with the aragonite, when you've taken out the live rock and you get to the phase where it's kind of scuzzy,
Yeah.
and you got all that kind of funk and good detritus and all that bio that's there, consider sacrificing any salt water that you have left over, a little bit if you have. Raise it up a couple inches and really mix that gravel and mix all that funk and clean it one last time before your tank move. When you arrive at your new location and your gravel has gotten cleaned very well, and I'm not suggesting tap water, but using good RO or something that has been dechlorinated ahead of time. By doing that, what you really did is a really amazing water change.
Yeah.
So when you set up your new system, I did that recently with a 6-foot water box where they already had an existing tank, and we transported it into a new one. But because we added more aragonite because it was a much bigger tank, But by doing that, it saves a couple bucks, but there's the good bio in there. But if you have too much bio and too much of that funk that was locked underneath rocks in places, when you pull that up, it's like a grenade. Underneath there's a lot of funk that whenever you were siphoning during regular service, you never touched underneath those rocks. So drain your water that you're going to save, bring it down to the bottom over right by the aragonite, move all your livestock out, and then when you get all that murky water, it's going to be really gray and disgusting. Get siphon all that out, and then refill it with some water, some sacrificial water that you're just going to waste and clean out. Then you get all that funk out, and then you're going to be really thanking us later when you get to your new location.
Yeah.
Now the other option is getting new aragonite, new gravel, which is fine as well. There's a lot of ways to spend a lot of money in this hobby, and so that's one of them. If you have the luxury of time is on your side, you can just save a little bit of that good bio that was from that old tank and mix it in with new stuff. That ratio works pretty well. But
that is a whole topic in and of itself. Do you save the sand? Do you keep the sand? Do you let the sand go?
I say you can save a little bit of the sand.
Save a little bit of the sand, but have some on hand.
I think a lot of my advice I try to give to people is based upon, I'm not trying to sell you something. People want fish tanks, they come to us.
Yeah.
And we give them options, and then that's great. But what got me into the hobby is being interested as a child. And what kept me out of saltwater for a long time is some of the costs were a little intimidating. So you can find a lot of good deals on Craigslist at times. And if you're into that type of thing, or people have used tanks and swaps, you can get started with not having top of the line stuff and just taking it slow and learning, getting a couple of things. You don't need to make it showroom quality the first time. Enjoy it, and as you can find onesie twosie things over time, whether it be coral or fish or even live rock, get it a little bit at a time if you're on a budget. Don't let the cost of things overwhelm you and keep you away from saltwater. And same thing with freshwater too. You can see at a yard sale or garage sale a tank that is sitting there and looks just terrible. There's salt creep all over it, or it might be really dirty, but use a little vision. You can take those tanks, bring them home, and spend some time, a little elbow grease, no chemicals. You just rinse them with fresh water.
Yep.
And they look so much better. Don't be intimidated by scratches. It's not like you're not going to be able to see through it. Most of the time you're going to be able to see through it. But when a tank is dry and there's scratches, it tends to look hazy and foggy and really not great. So if you have the time and it's a smaller tank, fill it up with some water, and now take a look. And if you're not impressed, put a light on it and go, oh wow, you can get the vision. It'll kind of like really stimulate more thought and planning. But if you go and you get all the live rock you can think of and all the aragonite and you put it all in at once, you're going to end up redoing it.
Yeah.
You're going to end up taking it all out and then starting over from the beginning, which totally okay, but way less expensive if you go slow.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I actually, in my talk today, I said that, the reefing, this hobby can be as inexpensive or as expensive as you want it to be. So there's ways around, you can get used equipment, you can go to your local fish store and just, hey, where do I start? Do you have any used lights? Because lights are probably the most expensive thing in this hobby.
Yes.
When it comes to dry goods and
it
equipment.
Is the engine of the hobby.
Yeah. So, and you can get some decent lights for not retail prices if they're used. They've got a couple of years on them or something.
And there's just like iPhones, right? I mean, people want the latest and greatest all the time. So I have clients that when the new Mobius app and the G5 Radions come out, they want them. Oh, it's the Neptune's got the sky light. Oh, gotta have it, which is fantastic if you have the resources and the means. But by building a rapport with your local fish store, get involved with groups in Chicago like CMAS, which is the Chicago Marine Aquarium Society, which support a lot of local fish stores in Chicago. They're a non-for-profit, but they have on their forums, or the Illinois Valley Reef Club on Facebook, you get on that group, or Chicago Reefs. There's a lot of different groups you can get together, and people are offering stuff up, or they have extra coral that overgrew. When you start doing a good job, you gotta trim it back. And no one really wants to take an animal and hurt it, right? So a lot of good people are reaching out and trying to trade or offer up different items. So take advantage of that, or trading. That happens a lot. That's kind of what the classic frag show was based upon. A lot of local hobbyists would get together and swap. That's frag swap.
No money.
No, well, I mean,
Swapping
sometimes.
sometimes money.
But if if you have something of value, but you have a bunch of it, you want to diversify that. So there is trading, whether you exchange it for money and then use that money to buy something else. You can, and I know you did a video about that.
Yeah.
You can supplement your hobby that way, or when you get as obsessed with it as myself and my team, you can make a career out of it. So a shameless plug, if you're in Chicago and you want to turn this hobby into a career, please reach out to Tank It Easy. We are looking for passionate people to help carry the Tank It Easy torch around Chicago, and we go way far out in the burbs. So whether you like retail or service, and if you've had a fish tank, I want to talk to you, because my team and the guys that work with us love it. They all have fish tanks of their own, and I think they would say, and they do tell me, that this is their favorite job.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be work. It's only work if you're doing something you don't love. But as Gary Vee would say, if you got to do something to get further, do something that you're passionate about.
Yep.
Reach out. I used to do sales and work at a bunch of different companies where my screensaver would be my fish tank, because I'd be daydreaming about what I could do when I got home on my fish tank. And it's just been an amazing process for me and my team to flip that, where our days off are spent trying to figure out a new hobby.
Yeah.
But our work is our passion, and we absolutely love it.
Well, Brian, I want to thank you so much for coming on the stream and for being here at Aquashella. I know you guys are a huge part of it from the beginning, and you have a huge booth set up over there. So come on by. If you're coming out to Aquashella, definitely stop by. If you're not, if you're suffering from massive FOMO, which is probably what's happening for a lot of people on the stream, they're just kind of tuning in to hang out on the stream. We've got great guests coming up throughout the rest of the day and into tomorrow as well. So.
Oh, and then I brought this for you. This is our new Tank It Easy shirt.
Oh, nice.
It's got UV print with Insane Coral on the back.
That's awesome.
And if you're a Chicago guy, of course, you'll appreciate the Chicago flag on the front. But we like to have fun with our stuff. This is what our service guys wear in the field, but it is fun to go by the reef tanks and have a little glow and a little pop.
Yeah.
Makes it fun. But yeah, I look forward to the rest of this weekend. Are you going to be here tomorrow?
I'll be here tomorrow.
Excellent. Well, of course you are. My
Yep.
gosh. Yeah, you better not leave. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on, and congrats again, Aquashella. Third time in Chicago, and just so grateful to be here, and so grateful to see all of these wonderful people that love the hobby as much as we do, and are so excited to be here. And it's just, this is like the Super Bowl for fish guys.
It surely is. That's for sure. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back in just a little bit with another guest.